Today, we are opening up the playbook for one of the most counterintuitive moves you can make to build wealth. You see, while most people are looking at the economy with fear and uncertainty, a select few see a glitch in the system, a rare window of opportunity. This isn't about gazing into a crystal ball. Think of this as an intelligence briefing on how to turn an economic downturn into your personal launch pad for home ownership. Time to decode the opportunity. So let's get right to it. The headlines are screaming recession. Everyone's confidence is in the gutter. And the common sense advice is to hunker down and wait. But what if the panic itself is the signal? What if the very moment everyone else is frozen with fear is the exact moment a strategic buyer should be getting ready to make a move? This right here is the core of the recessionist's mindset. To really get the scale of this opportunity, you have to look at history. And this number, well, it says it all. Negative 33%. That was the average national drop in home prices during the 2008 financial crisis. Think about that. It was a massive, once-in-a-generation sale on the single biggest asset most people will ever own. But wait, the discount wasn't just on the price tag. This number represents the other critical half of the equation, the cost of borrowing money. In the years that followed the 2008 peak, 30-year mortgage rates were effectively cut in half. So just imagine this. You get a 1/3 discount on a house, and then you get a 50% discount on the interest you'll pay for the next 30 years. That is the incredibly powerful 1-2 punch a recession can deliver. All right, so let's break down this system glitch. Phase 1 of our playbook is all about understanding the unique financial advantages that only really show up when the economy is under serious stress. This is where the rules of the game just completely flip. This table right here shows the complete inversion of the market. I mean, look at the left, a normal market. Prices are rising, competition is fierce, bidding wars everywhere, and sellers are totally in control. Now look to the right, the recession market. Prices drop sometimes by 15 to 30%. Competition, it vanishes. Sellers go from being in control to being, well, motivated. And crucially, the Federal Reserve starts aggressively cutting rates to jumpstart the economy, which directly pushes down your borrowing costs. Every single lever of power shifts from the seller to you, the buyer who's ready. Okay, before we go any further, we absolutely need to build a firewall. This strategy is high risk, high reward, and ignoring the dangers is basically financial suicide. So let's be brutally honest about the very real threats you're going to face. The number one risk is a concept that traders call catching a falling knife. It means you buy what you think is the bottom only to watch in horror as prices continue to plummet. I mean, look at this example from Phoenix. Buyers who jumped in during 2007 thinking they got a steal were absolutely crushed as prices fell another 40% over the next 4 years. So the crucial lesson here is timing is everything, and jumping in too early is catastrophic. The next huge threat is to your income. A recession means job losses, period, and they are not spread out evenly. As this chart shows, sectors like construction, retail, and manufacturing get hit incredibly hard. You can have the perfect house lined up, but if your job is in one of these vulnerable sectors, your ability to actually pay the mortgage could just disappear overnight. And here's the final cruel irony. Even as mortgage rates are falling, actually getting a loan becomes dramatically harder. Why? Because the banks get scared too. They activate their toughest lending standards. All of a sudden, that 720 credit score that was perfectly fine a year ago might not cut it anymore. They're going to demand higher scores, bigger down payments, and way more proof of your job stability. The door to cheap money is open, but only a select few are actually allowed to walk through it. Which brings us to the strategic part of the playbook. If you want to navigate these risks and actually seize the opportunity, you can't just be prepared, you have to be a financial fortress. So let's start with the foundation. You know, the standard 20% down payment, that's a peacetime rule. In this kind of environment, you need more armor. So we're targeting 25, maybe even 30% down. This does 4 critical things. First, it builds an instant equity buffer in case prices drop more. Second, it lowers your monthly payment, which reduces your stress. And third, it lets you completely avoid expensive private mortgage insurance, or PMI, right from day one. Now, this is not your standard emergency fund. This is financial armor, and it needs to be bulletproof. We're talking 18 months of your total housing costs. That's the mortgage, taxes, insurance, everything. Then another 6 months for all your other living expenses. A dedicated fund just for home maintenance, say $15,000 to $25,000. And on top of all that, a fund to cover your salary for 3 to 6 months in case you need to find a new job. Yeah, it sounds extreme, I know, but this is what it takes to survive the storm. Okay, so once your financial fortress is built, we move to the next phase, timing. And this isn't about gut feelings or listening to talking heads on TV. It's about using cold, hard data to identify the best window to make your purchase. You have to become a student of the economy. This is your dashboard. A recessionist doesn't guess, they measure. You're watching for the unemployment rate not just to peak, but to stay there for a few months. You're looking for the housing inventory to swell to over 8 months of supply. That means way more sellers than buyers. You wait for financial stress indicators like credit spreads, which is basically the fear gauge in the lending market, to start falling from their peak. When these big signals start to line up, you know the worst is likely over. And while you're watching that national dashboard, you have to be looking for these on-the-ground signals in the specific neighborhoods you're targeting. Are houses sitting on the market for more than 90 days? Are more than half the listings getting price cuts? Are you starting to see foreclosure signs pop up? When you see all of these things happening at once, you know the market bottom is getting close. So you've built your fortress. You've timed the signals. Now it's time to execute. This is where all that preparation translates into a massive tactical advantage at the negotiating table. The difference is just night and day. Forget offering at or above the asking price. In a recession, you start your offer 15 to 25% below ask. Forget waiving inspections. You demand a long one, 14 to 21 days, to find every little flaw. And you don't offer to pay closing costs, you request the seller cover them for you. Every single point of leverage has flipped over to your side of the table, and a huge source of that leverage comes from this number. In 2009, nearly half, 45% of all homes sold were distressed properties. We're talking foreclosures or short sales. This creates this giant pool of highly motivated sellers, and it basically sets a new, much lower price floor for the entire market. Now, going after these distressed properties, that's a high-level move. The discounts can be absolutely enormous. We're talking 20 to 40%, but it's really not for the faint of heart. These deals often require all cash. They need specialized expertise to figure out how bad the damage is, and a ton of patience to get through a very, very complex legal process. So what's the end game here? Why go through all this risk and all this intense preparation? Well, it's because executing this playbook isn't just about getting a good deal on a house. It's about making a long-term strategic wealth play. And here it is, the ultimate payoff. History is crystal clear on this. Buyers who have the courage to act near a recession's bottom see massive appreciation over the following decade. We are not talking about small gains here. We're talking about returns that can range from 40 to 80%, fundamentally changing a family's financial future. But please remember this, because it is the most important rule in the entire playbook. Buying low is just the price of admission. Real generational wealth is built by having the financial stability, that fortress we designed to hold on to the asset through the entire recovery cycle and beyond. You have to be strong enough to ride the wave all the way back up. So the playbook is open, the strategy is clear, the risks are defined, and the potential reward is immense. It's a high-stakes game, no doubt, and it demands discipline, patience, and a whole lot of courage. The economic signals will eventually align. The only question left is, will you be ready?